Hi, everyone, and welcome to another interview for Extraordinary Latinas. I'm your host, Ileana Rojas, and today I'm excited and grateful to welcome Laura Tapia. Laura, you're an independent board member who serves in several boards, a successful marketing advisor. You've been named by CNN's Expansión amongst Mexico's most powerful women, and have also been recognized by Advertising Age Women to Watch as an editorial authority in marketing. You had a very successful corporate career and are now a successful entrepreneur. You have a powerful voice as a woman in environments where women are not present or have limited presence, and are always looking for ways to open the doors for other women to follow. You're an inspiring and extraordinary Latinas, and I'm so grateful to have you here today. Thank you.
Thank you, Ileana. It's a pleasure to be here.
And I want to start by asking you to share your story. Like, where did this all begin?
So yeah, my mom always wanted to encourage my sister and myself to be independent professional women. And I started my career and studied computer science. I liked computer science. And then I joined the Procter & Gamble company in Mexico, P&G. I was already in P&G in my career in systems. But then I started this relationship with whom today is my husband. And I already was convinced that I wanted to pursue a corporate career at P&G, but I also needed some distance to make sure I had a healthy marriage. So I asked the director in systems that I wanted to move, ideally to marketing, but I had other alternatives like finance and logistics. He said I could stay in systems and have a dual career in the same department of my husband, that I didn't need to move. But I was already convinced that I needed some health space there. But there were people telling me, no, it's super hard to move to marketing. But I decided to pursue this change, and I did it. And then I was accepted, and I had an amazing 22 years career in marketing, total 25 in P&G. And after that, my last 5 years, I've been independent consultant. And that's another small story that I want to tell you there, because when I started my independent practice, one of my goals also was to be a board member. And I heard people tell me that although I achieved very high ranks in C-level positions in P&G, I was always in marketing. Even as a Latin American marketing director, I was never a CEO per se, no? And there were people telling me it's almost impossible to get a board seat if you were not a CEO. I heard that from mentors, from headhunters, but I just decided that I wanted to do that, and I eventually did it, and I got several board positions. So this is me. I've done these small shifts in my career, always with this, inside engine that was created by my mom. But the other thing is always thinking what I want to do and trying it out, even if people tell me that is impossible.
You bring such great points about, people telling you that you can't do things. And I think a lot of us are influenced or believe that when somebody tells us that we can't, we start doubting ourselves, and we start thinking that's not possible. But you still, continued with your thought, with your belief, and move forward with that drive. Like, how do you overcome those inner voices of disbelief, or were you always like, this is it and I'm moving forward?
Not always, but I meditate. So I take some time to always connect with what I really want. And when I start hearing those voices, it could be myself because someone told me, or it could be someone else. Most of the time it's someone else. But even if it's something that because somebody tells you, oh, it's going to be very hard, then you start repeating yourself. I always have these times of personal connection. And I remember this phrase I read somewhere that says, what would you do if you weren't afraid? And sometimes I ask myself, okay, here in my belly, what do I really want, no matter what they say? And then I start from there, really from connecting what I really want. And that helps me manage these voices, internal or external.
Have you ever not known like what it is that you want?
Yes. Yes. So actually, I'm now a marketing consultant, but one of the big questions that I had when I started my independent practice, I just was clear that I wanted to be a board member, but for the rest, I didn't know what else I wanted to do. Like I was not convinced if I wanted to be a consultant, or if I wanted to enter the academic life and start teaching, or like I had so many ideas in my mind. And that it was 2016. I was ready to reinvent myself. And I just had clarity that I wanted to be a board member, but I knew that I wanted to pursue a portfolio career, and the rest I was just open. And the way I handled it is I was just willing to try several things. So even as a board member, so one of the things that I did was to volunteer as a mentor and advisor in Endeavor. Endeavor is a non-for-profit that helps high-impact entrepreneurs catapult their results. And there, I volunteered as mentor and also as advisory board member. So all of that helped me put into practice the role of a consultant and the role of a board member. So what I've done several times in my life is, if I'm not really sure what I want, I find a way to try. It's like piloting. It's like pivoting the lean startup, but in the things that you want to do.
I think that's wonderful advice, because I don't think that's something that many of us think to do. Like we normally will jump in and feeling that whatever we start, we need to continue to do forever, but not pilot kind of roles or projects or initiatives, and have that mindset of, well, if it's not something that I like, then I can, move away from it. And I think that's such an important piece of advice. Have you, throughout, all these shifts in your career, because you clearly have not had like a linear career in terms of, you started in computer, then moved to marketing, now you're an entrepreneur. Mentors, who inspired you, or how have people helped you along the way?
Mm-hmm. I always look up to role models and try to find people that has done what I want to do, and always ask for help or for advice on, how did you do it? I have never heard someone tell me no. Like if I ask for help, people are open. So for example, when I finally, so I practice on this endeavor advising people. And eventually there was someone that called me, hey, I want you to do this consulting project for me. And I was open to try it out, but I didn't even know how to quote a consulting project. So I called this also very tenured former P&G employee that had an amazing consulting business. I knew her, but she didn't know me. But I knew a friend of both of us. So I connected with her and I just said, you don't know me, but I know you didn't done this career, and I'm challenged now to have my first consulting project, and I want to know how you did it. And she was amazing. She taught me how to quote projects, how to circle back with clients, how to make the proposals, everything. Like she embraced me in an amazing way, you know. And the other day, it's been several years now, but the other day I talked to a friend that is starting, and he said, I really need help. And I just thought, you know, it's my time to pay forward. Like, she didn't ask me anything, and she just said yes. So this is just one example, but in many times in my career, I've looked into role models, asked for help, asked for advice, and everybody says yes. It's just a matter of identifying the person that you admire and why, and then asking the right questions.
That is such a powerful advice, because I think a lot of us sometimes feel that nobody's going to help us. So we stop asking the questions because we're afraid that people are not going to help us. And I've heard now from many, and I've experienced it myself, that actually most people will help you. It's really like a very small number of people that might not. And sometimes it's not because they don't want to, it's because, you know, something happened. So that is so important. You've been a powerful voice for yourself and for others in the different areas that you've been. But how do you keep, you know, yourself being an authentic voice and not getting lost in the noise of others?
That's a great question. Again, I'm going back to this, my daily inside meditation time. You know, that's the time to even rethink when you responded to someone in a way that you didn't like, but yeah, most of the time that times help me connect with what I really want and who I really want to be. No? So I remember this time 13 months ago when the pandemic started, and I was also very tired because of several pro bono projects and a lot of projects with my clients, and I was not on the ideal work-life balance but I heard a calling from one of the board members in one organization of women directors in Mexico. She was so worried, and some of us did echo this, you know, there will be so many enterprises that will you know, go to bankruptcy because of, in many industries like restaurants and tourism, etc. We were so worried about that. And then she called for help. She said, let's do something about it. And I remember that day I did this yoga practice. And because I was all the time thinking, no, I cannot say yes to one more thing. No, like it was again, but then I connected a lot with what I wanted to do, and I really wanted to participate and do something about the enterprises in Mexico. We created an organization called Voz de las Mujeres, and we started helping women entrepreneurs. But what I did with my yoga practice was to connect with what I really wanted to do, and then start thinking, okay, so what would be needed for this to happen? So what of the other activities that I'm doing I could either change or delegate or and that's how I made my choice. But it's on this me time where I find that personal voice. And then the other thing is also with a coach. Like sometimes I spend time with a coach. It's 4 times a year, but it helps me, reconnect with what I want, what are my objectives, and not to get deviated with either what other people are saying or what organizations want you to do.
That is so important, and you bring up, in a way, the meditation and the yoga and this part that it's becoming so important about self-care and giving ourselves time and space for us, which I think in the past was not something that leaders at a certain level were envisioned, right? They were like go-getters and always business and in a workaholic kind of environment. At least that was the stereotype that was perceived. But more and more, I'm hearing from leaders like yourself and others saying, yes, it's important to focus on business. However, it's also important to give time for us. And actually, that time becomes really good to make better business decisions. Mm-hmm. So you share that in your story, and I think that is so powerful. In addition to meditation, like, is there anything else that you do for self-care to give yourself that space?
Yes, I also run, but when I run, I don't get that feeling. So that it's not like meditation and yoga help me connect with what I want, and it helps me make better decisions. I also run, that's for self-care, and I know that's good for my brain and many things, and just, getting a lot of energy out. So I run, and I take singing classes, like vocals. It's, I don't want to be a professional. I just want to do a decent job when I get to the family karaoke. And I enjoy a lot of that singing, and I think it's part of taking care of myself.
That is so awesome. So I know that you wear a lot of hats. You already shared many, plus all of these additional like personal things that you do in your personal time. Like, how do you balance all of these in your life?
Mm-hmm. It's not always easy, but you have to plan the time for the things that are important. So if, my meditation time and then running and having a good breakfast, sitting in front of my breakfast, not in front of a computer. And if those things are important, I just, block the first 3 hours of my day to do all of that. And that's my time. I do very rare exceptions if a client needs me to be in a meeting at 8 a.m., but it's really an exception. And so to make that balance, you need to look at your day and choose what are the things that are really important and put them there in your agenda. Otherwise, they won't happen. And then the other thing is I do some planning. So, I talk to this coach once every quarter, and then I try to do at least once a month but ideally every week, like some planning of, okay, what are the most important things that need to happen in my board commitments and my consulting commitments and my personal and family life, and see what needs to happen and what are the time slots that I need to create to really achieve those goals. It's not always easy, and sometimes there's deviations, and I also accept them if eventually that happens. I'm not too harsh on myself if I don't run the 4 times per week that I want to run. If it's 3 times, it's okay. I just accept it. And I think that's also part of the balance.
That is so important. You mentioned about it's your choice in the end, and I think that's something that we forget. That whatever we do, it ends up being our choice, not somebody else's. So I think that's important. And I'm also going to take the put it in your calendar because I think I keep doing things that I don't put on my calendar. So I'll definitely start doing more of that. What drives you? What motivates you to do things or to not do things?
Well, my purpose is to use my experience in business, in marketing, in female leadership development, all these areas, to create legacies and to create capabilities in organizations. And I try to do it. Well, it's very obvious in my consulting practice, because actually my consulting practice is really focused on that. So I help companies look into their organization and see what capabilities, tools should be used for marketers to do better marketing. So in my consulting practice, I don't, advise or consult specifically on a brand and say, you need to change your logo or your advertising. Rather, I look into their organization and what are the key things that need to be done for them to do a better job. And I do the same from the board. Like the other day, I was analyzing how similar these things are, because in the board, of course, you review the results of the company and the strategy and looking forward to what we need to do. But I always end up asking similar questions regarding how can we create the capability so that the organization is better? How, if I'm going to be in this role 3 years, how can I make sure that there are practices and things that stay here after I leave, no? So that's what moves me to do things that help businesses thrive, and that I help with interventions that don't depend on me and are left as a legacy. What moves me not to do things? I don't like working on toxic environments. So if I perceive some of those, I just move out. And then the other thing is, I don't consult or don't work on companies that sell either alcohol or cigarettes. That's a no-no for me. So I just use my brain power for things and companies that are good for our health.
Awesome. Thank you so much. Any last piece of advice?
So I already said, don't let people tell you can do something. Just find a way to do it. And the other thing is, if you don't know if it's for you, try it. Like, we should always try things. That's like the piece of advice. Maybe for women leaders, I think the most important advice that I received was, you need to take the driver's seat of your career. So, because sometimes we assume that if we do a good job, the promotion will come, or the big assignment will. My manager will take care of me. And it's not always like that. So you always need to think, what is the next step you want to achieve, and always have the conversation with your boss and guide it, drive it. Just, what do I need to learn, or what results do I need to achieve to have that role? And that's it. Just take the driver's seat.
Yeah, that's great advice. Thank you so much. It's been a pleasure getting to know you a little bit more. I didn't know that you sing karaoke, but now I know. We'll have to do that sometime. And hearing about your extraordinary story as a woman, as a Latina, thank you so much for being here today. And I look forward to continue to talk to you more in the future.
Super, Ileana. Lovely to talk to you, always. Mm-hmm.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.